everyone, I'm Christy Drainack and welcome to Watercolor Journal Club. This is our first lesson for creating tiny watercolors in June. We're going to make our sketchbook. So you'll want to grab something sharp. This is just a tool that I got with a little set for clay and it's great. Dull needle or a regular needle, something you can thread your string with. This one's dull needle, works out very nice for bookbinding. You can get them on Amazon. A little piece of leather or paper, anything pretty you like. And then your watercolor paper. And some wax. I use wax thread. Got that on Amazon as well. You could use just a thicker string as well. Now my favorite paper is Arches, 140 pound. I picked cold press since we'll be working small and it'll be probably a little more detailed. I use rough as well, but that would be for bigger paintings. I don't think I would use it for anything too small, except for maybe like abstract loose landscapes and things like that. So all I do is I buy my paper by the sheet and I tear it. Torn it down a little bit already so it would fit on the screen, but I just fold it back and forth, and since it's 140 pound, it makes it crease really easily. Just do that until I get the paper down to the size I want. And that's the great thing about making your own sketchbook is you can make your sketchbook any size you want, which is awesome. I've made several. I'm going to have some in the shop too if you don't want to make your own. For the cover, I think it's kind of fun to make your own because you can make it the size you want with the paper you want that you like and the colors you like, everything as far as the cover. You can make your own cover. I just went with leather on this one. I think it looks nice. So, you know, you could use nice paper or anything. So now I am folding the sheets into the size I want them to be. And I am folding 4 sheets of paper in half. So there are my 4 pieces of paper and I'm folding them in half. So that's going to give me 8 pages, but 16 sides basically. So that'll set you up to be able to do about 5 pictures a week if you follow the prompts. Since we have 3 weeks of prompts, you could do about 5 pictures a week if you want, or however you want, but that gives you extra room. And I don't recommend doing a whole bunch more in one signature with this weight of paper because as you can see, if you go and do it, it gets pretty thick and clunky. So 4 is the max I would do with 140 pound, but you can try it out and see what you're comfortable with. So once that's all done and you have everything stacked in together, make sure they're in there really good. You can go ahead, and I had some other paper handy. I wanted to show you how I made it though. So go ahead and mark it. You can measure if you want. I go ahead and I just eyeball it. I like the wonkiness of handmade. You know, it's not made by a machine, it's made by a human. I like it to come out, you know, every single one comes out a little different. So I just eyeball it. You can space them however you want. You can space them differently, have the middle be wider or smaller and the sides be wider or smaller. You can vary it or you can have them all be exactly even. So then I go and punch through with my little tool here. You could use thumbtack, anything pointy, thumbtack, needle that's sharp, or clay tools. They have bookbinding awls. I actually bought one, but I like this tool better. So, you know, I think I got this in a little set at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby in the clay sections. Works really good. When you're poking through the watercolor paper, just make sure you are staying centered the whole way through. Sometimes when you get to the center of the inside pages, it'll shift. Another way to do it would be to mark from the inside and poke out instead too. So just because the paper is so thick, but you can experiment with that. And once you have all your holes poked, I fold it again, and you're going to set something on this when it's done because it doesn't want to stay closed because the paper is very thick. But and even with thinner paper, you have to do that. Then you go ahead and get your cover material and leave extra room around the edges so that you can trim it up, and you know, it gives you wiggle room in case anything gets a little bit off center or anything like that. Mark your material with where the holes are on your paper and do the same thing. Just punch your holes out again. And leather, of course, is a little bit tougher than paper, but you could use a nice thick paper. Peg and All have a great tutorial. That's actually where I learned a lot of this. They don't do watercolor journals, but they do sketchbooks, and they have beautiful books. I bought one for a sketchbook from them and just to write in. But they have a great tutorial on bookbinding in a couple different ways. So they do a cover with a postcard, which is really cool, and then the drawing paper inside. I'm just line everything up, and then again, right now I'm just eyeballing things. I'm not too specific with getting super straight lines. If that's what you like to do, and you have a rotary cutter or something like that, by all means, you know, get your lines nice and straight too. Again, I'm kind of, with the handmade wonkiness here. I like it. So just keeping it simple so you have a nice quick tutorial here. Now what we're going to do is thread our waxed string, and I found this on Amazon as well. It's just wax string you can put in, thread for bookbinding, anything like that. It came with a whole bunch of colors, and it's not expensive. It's nice and sturdy, and because it's waxed, it'll stay tied, and it's very easy to work with. So I do recommend that. You could use your own thread and wax it if you want, and you can look that up. There's people that show that process as well. Lots and lots of good tutorials on creating your journal, but this is how I have created this specific one. It's part of the giveaway, so I will be giving away one of these little journals that is covered with leather, and this is how I made it. That giveaway is going to be on June 1st to kick off our fun tiny art challenge here. All you are doing is lining up the holes, and it is important where you start here so you end up at the same spot so you can go through everything evenly. It looks very nice in the end. Watch this process. While we do that, I'll talk about some supplies so you can see how I'm threading it. Though for supplies, I recommend a paper you really like. Probably, I would say 140 pound, just so it doesn't buckle. But you could, some people don't use a lot of water, so whatever you're comfortable with. Again, that's the great thing about making your sketchbook. You can use the paper you like. Then for paint, I use mostly Daniel Smith watercolors. I do recommend using having a cool red, a warm red, a cool yellow, a warm yellow, and cool blue and warm blue, so all the primaries. And when I say cool and warm, if you don't know what that means, red is typically thought to be a warmer color than blue. But when you're talking about two reds, one that's cool and one that's warm, so the warmer red would be like a true red or maybe an orangish red, and then the cooler red would be something like an alizarin crimson or something. It has a little bit of blue mixed in it, so it looks a little magenta-y or something. So it's a little cooler. Same thing with the yellows, like a nice lemon yellow. It's a calmer yellow. It's not as orangey or as quite as bright. It's just, it has a calmer nature to it. That'd be your cool yellow. And then like your blues, blue, there are blues that have a little bit of red in them. You have ultramarine blue, and you have cobalt blue, and I'll list them below, some examples of warm and cools if you'd like to know that. It's not a super big deal. Just use colors you like. This is just fun. So, but that's what I use. I'll show you my palette in our first painting lesson as well. Then for brushes, I use round brushes mostly. Sometimes a flat brush, but for tiny painting, I'm expecting to only use rounds. So you'll see that I use silver black velvet brushes and Princeton Neptune brushes. I really like those. I also get the level 3 brushes over at Hobby Lobby and Michael's for watercolor, and they're great. So here you can see, if you watched how I thread that, now you just tie it off. I tie it 2 times just so it'll stay, but it's wax thread. You can put a little dab of glue on there if you want to. And then that part is all done, and you can go on to finishing up your cover a little more. So you'll see how to do that. You just trim the edges. And for materials, I think I've pretty much covered everything. You just need paper towel, paints, maybe a pencil if you like to draw your image first, your brushes, and your sketchbook. So you don't need too much. It's great. And I noticed a lot of you mentioned you like painting small because it's so portable and easy. Reason I'm going small right now is my son is out of school, so I have a lot less time, so I'm not doing a lot of big paintings. I thought it would be fun, and you can fill some sketchbooks up and just have a nice time out in nature and different things. I like to paint a lot from my own photographs too, so I'll show you some of that during this challenge. So I do round the corner a little bit. I learned that from Peg and All. I think it looks really nice. You could keep them squared if you like. And when I'm trimming this, I'm just doing my best to get a fairly straight line, and I am still leaving room around the paper. I don't want to go right up next to that paper still. I just think it looks a little nicer. If you get too close to the paper, you start to be able to see the paper and not just the cover, so that's why I'm doing that. But it's a pretty forgiving project, I think. So, and if you use a nice paper cover to like the postcard or something like that, you know, or cardboard if you want, and then you could paint it or glue some paper on it that you like, you know, I think that it'll come out really nice, and it's just fun to have made your own sketchbooks. Again, this just takes a little time going around, and if you want, you can also check out Peg and All's tutorials, and I will leave a link there for that as well, so you can see how different people do this, but I pretty much followed how they do, and that's where I learned. Once you're done with your tiny sketchbook, you might want to make more. I know I keep making more and more and more, and had a request to sell them, so I do have some in my shop if you don't have time or want to try this, or if you don't want to invest in some supplies, you're more than welcome to, of course, stop by, and I'm selling them at, I mean, affordable price. It's just my time and some materials is what I add on there. So yeah, so I can't wait to see your sketchbooks, what you create, see your spin on creating your own little watercolor sketchbook. This one's all done, and what you'll probably want to put it in like a big heavy book or something. I clip it too, but this is what it looks like when it's all done. And again, you'll have 16 sides to paint on, unless you want a title page or something, but you could paint a little cute cover too. So yeah, pretty simple, pretty fun. Leave some comments below. Let me know if you're participating or if you're just going to make a sketchbook for fun. If you do want to join us, Watercolor Journal Club, for this little June tiny watercolor painting challenge, head on over to my Instagram and you can check it out and see the prompts and everything, and we'd love to have you join us. So here you can see this size. This one's a little bigger than some of the other ones I've made. Here's that round brush I'm giving away, the paint I'm giving away, and then a sketchbook just like this. So again, you can come over to Instagram if you'd like to join that giveaway as well. Thanks so much, and stay tuned for our first prompt and painting tutorial.